Hi, my name is Frankie, and I am 28 years old. Last Christmas, I cooked the turkey, mashed potatoes, every side. The table glowed with candles, carols filling the warm room. I hoped my father would finally see how hard I tried. Instead, he put down his fork, stared straight into my eyes. "You are a leech. You cannot stay here anymore." The words cut deeper than any knife on that table. Sarah gasped. Tom dropped his gaze. Laughter vanished in a heartbeat. The cinnamon in the air turned bitter, choking in my throat. I was 28, but felt 15 again in seconds. That night, humiliation became my gift, and leaving became my choice. Have you heard words like these at your table? Tell me where you're watching from, and please subscribe. Stay with me to see how everything changed. 6 months before that night, I lost my job. A restructuring memo erased 20 people in one morning. 3 months of severance, a box, and a long drive. At 28, I packed dignity beside my certificates and sweaters. I returned to the street that raised me and Sarah. My childhood room was now a neat, impersonal guest space. Neutral walls, no posters, only the hum of the vent. The old insecurities slipped in like a winter draft. Dad allowed me to stay. "Temporary," he said, firm and measured. "Find something fast, a real job with benefits," he added. Mom had died when I was 15, cancer swift and merciless. After that, Dad gave money faithfully and words sparingly. Praise grew rare. Criticism flowed easy as tap water. He kept ledgers for comfort and schedules for survival. I learned to fix problems and hide my feelings. Sarah, 2 years younger, became his favorite proof of success. A nurse with steady shifts, a tidy house, a mortgage. Her husband Tom spoke fluently about portfolios and horizons. I opened my laptop and built days from applications. I rewrote resumes, tailored cover letters, chased every posting. 200 submissions by December, 15 interviews, many screenings. Jobs that once drew 50 now drew several hundred. Dad judged from a world 30 years behind mine. Companies hired doers, he said, meaning men with pensions. Noon calls came with the same question. Any luck? Luck didn't pay rent. Persistence filled the afternoons instead. To keep my skills sharp, I took freelance design gigs. A logo for a friend's cousin, a bakery website. Small invoices, inconsistent pay, real deadlines that taught discipline. Dad shrugged. Real jobs have insurance. Hobbies live on weekends. So I contributed quietly and tried not to cost anything. I cooked dinners, packed leftovers, labeled containers by day. I resealed grout, oiled hinges, replaced the soft deck boards. I mowed the lawn, pruned roses, raked out the gutters. I booked the furnace check and changed the filters. Groceries came from my savings, stretched with coupons each week. The internet auto-drafted from my account without ceremony. So did the streaming services, the family cell plan, electricity. I took the family plan after he forgot 3 months. No one asked who paid. The house simply worked. Some contributions stay invisible until they vanish overnight. On Sundays, I drove past the cemetery and the mums. I told Mom the market was loud and unkind. I told her I was trying without making a scene. December approached, and I opened the ornament boxes carefully. Tiny memories wrapped in tissue breathed cinnamon and dust. I ironed the runner, checked bulbs, polished the candlesticks. I planned the menu on sticky notes in the fridge. Cornbread stuffing from Grandma's card, sweet potatoes with marshmallows, cranberries bright enough to wake up a dull January. I stretched a last-minute design payment to buy good ingredients. For Dad, I found a first edition of his favorite. I had it cleaned and wrapped in plain brown paper. At night, I wrote lists that felt like prayers. Buy herbs Thursday, thaw stock Friday, brine the bird. Set the table early, iron napkins, warm plates before serving. I pictured him noticing effort instead of lack this year. I pictured us breathing between questions without bracing. Sarah texted about bringing wine and a store dessert. Tom promised something French and fancy. I said great. Dad compared generations over the evening news as usual. He measured success with mortgages. I practiced measuring mercy. I told myself Christmas could mend what words had bruised. I told myself I had done enough to be seen. By 4 o'clock, the dishes were lined like soldiers. Gravy simmered low. The cranberry gleamed like winter sunlight. Dad and Sarah chatted football while Tom poured bright wine. I carried the turkey in, steam curling around candlelight. For a second, pride loosened the knot inside me. We sat, passed plates, forks chimed like tiny bells. Sarah told stories of night shifts and frightened parents. Dad's eyes softened at her steady hands and heart. Tom described a transfer toward the partnership track. Dad raised his glass, generous, easy with praise tonight. To Sarah and Tom, he said, hard work and results. They clinked. I took water and steadied my breathing. Then, as always, the train turned back toward me. So, Frankie, Dad said, carving, how's the job search? The familiar groove returned, a record I couldn't scratch. I set my fork down and matched his calm. I've had interviews and steady freelance design contracts lately. A startup loves my work. It could become a retainer. His mouth tilted. Not a smile, more measured doubt. Freelance, he said, doesn't pay mortgages or buy insurance. When I was your age, I supported a family. I'm supporting myself, I said, and I've supported this house. I've paid internet, streaming, the cell plan, and groceries. I fixed the deck and scheduled the furnace check. Tom coughed. Sarah took a long, quiet sip. Dad waved a hand, erasing small numbers from air. A drop in the bucket compared to a roof. Real jobs come with benefits and reliability, he added. Entry-level posts want 5 years now, I said carefully. Companies hire contractors to dodge those benefits, Dad. He kept carving, the knife a metronome of certainty. Excuses, he said. Sarah never had trouble finding work. Sarah shifted, uncomfortable, eyes sliding away from both. Heat rose in me, shame and anger mixed. I've applied to over 200 roles in 6 months. 15 interviews, courses, new skills, a stronger portfolio. What else would you have me do exactly? He set down knife and fork and laced his fingers. Stop living off me, he said, voice low and final. Do you know what another adult truly costs? Water, electricity, groceries, the strain on savings tonight? The electric bill hits my account, I answered quietly. So does the internet and the streaming services. His jaw twitched. He glanced at Tom, then back. So you want payment for chores and breathing here? This is your generation's problem, he said, growing colder. You want rewards for the bare minimum of life. Dad, Sarah tried. Frankie has helped. The house shows it. But he had momentum. Words gathered like a storm. I've been patient, he said. 6 months of patience. Meanwhile, you play designer online for pocket money. Dad, please, I said, the room tilting slightly. I'm trying every day whether you see it or not. His palm hit the table. The forks jumped. Your best isn't good enough, he said, unblinking. You're 28, living here like a teenager still. You are a leech. You cannot stay here anymore. Carol stumbled. Sarah's glass trembled against the table. Tom studied his plate as if answers lived there. Air thickened. Cinnamon turned to ash in my mouth. I set my napkin down like a quiet flag. Excuse me, I said, rising with wobbly dignity. Upstairs, the neutral walls felt colder and closer. I slid to the floor and counted breaths. Leech pulsed like a bruise under each inhale. Tears came hot, then steadier, then finally ended. When the storm passed, something quieter finally rose. I pulled a notebook and uncapped my pen. I drew a box. Housing, finances, logistics, goodbye. Under housing, Lisa's couch tonight, studio tomorrow morning. I texted, emergency, can I crash? Explain later. Her reply was instant and faithful. Of course. Under finances, savings balance, retainer potentials, January projections. Under logistics, transfer accounts, cancel responsibility, pack essentials. Under goodbye, I wrote one sentence 3 times. I'm not a leech. I am your daughter. And tonight, I am leaving this house for good. I opened my laptop and searched rentals across town. Studios, older buildings, utilities included, immediate availability preferred. A listing, small, clean, top floor within tight budget. I sent a concise message, asked for a 9 a.m. viewing. The landlord replied, yes, come early, bring ID. I exhaled and moved to the accounts list. Internet, in my name, service at Dad's address. I scheduled a transfer pending new address confirmation. Streaming, change password, remove extra profiles, keep mine. Cell plan, move Dad's line to his account today. Electric company, remove my name after this billing cycle. Every confirmation went into a folder labeled separation. Each click reclaimed a room inside my chest. I packed deliberately. Documents, laptop, drives, proofs first. Then clothes, toiletries, mom's apron, tablet, and chargers. Furniture stayed. Boxes held only essentials and beginnings. Between trips, I listened. Voices, doors, a chair scraping. By 2 a.m., the house held its breath. I wrote a note and placed the key atop. I'm leaving now. Check email for account changes. I've paid November through. Service remains uninterrupted properly. I'm not your burden. I choose self-respect, Dad. I slept an hour with shoes by the door. At 7, gray light gathered along the blinds. 2 bags lifted. The hallway creaked like an old friend. Downstairs, last night's weight still pressed into the table. Plates leaned, candles slumped, napkins looked like white flags. Normally I would scrub until porcelain forgave us. Today I walked past the sink and kept walking. The front door breathed cold into the warm house. Outside, my breath rose in small clouds and drifted. I loaded the car, the trunk yawned and accepted. Lisa texted, "On my way with the SUV." 3 trips later, the trunk was full. Resolve fuller. I grabbed the last tote and the folded note. I set both on the kitchen counter, centered. For a moment, I stood and remembered other Decembers. Mom stringing lights, Dad tasting gravy, Sarah humming. A different year, a different family, a different father. I locked the door. The click sounded like finality. Lisa pulled in, headlights off, gentle even in parking. She hugged me, the kind that braces a spine. "Did you sleep?" she asked. I shook my head. "We'll nap later," she said. Now we move forward. We loaded the SUV with the last 2 boxes. At 8, everything we needed fit in 2 cars. One more breath, then the driver's seat accepted me. As we rolled away, the house shrank and disappeared. By 8:30, we reached an older brick building. The landlord met us, a ring of keys in hand. "Frank," he said, lines kind around his eyes. 3 flights up, the studio smelled like clean paint. A window faced east, winter light pooled on wood. 400 square feet, Frank said, utilities included. "It's tiny," I said, "but enough for now." "It's yours today if you want it," he added. First month, security, quick application and credit check. I handed ID and completed the form carefully. While he scanned, dust danced in the sunlight. I pictured my tablet on a folding table. I pictured sleep without measuring footsteps overhead anymore. Approved. I signed with a hand that barely trembled. The keys felt warm, a new alphabet in palm. Lisa squeezed my shoulder and grinned into my relief. We carried boxes up that last stubborn flight. Each trip was proof that forward can be ordinary. By noon, an air mattress unrolled against the wall. My laptop found the outlet, the charger clicked home. Pizza on paper plates. We ate cross-legged and quiet. "How are you?" Lisa asked, the real kind of question. "Tired," I said, but not afraid of tired anymore. My phone filled with missed calls and voicemails. Dad twice, Sarah once, Tom once. I silenced it. I wanted the sound of the place settling. Pipes ticked, radiators hummed, the city exhaled through brick. Back inside, emptiness started to look like possibility. I tucked Mom's apron away like a blessing. I leaned her photo against the window, facing sun. Lisa left with a hug and a promise. Alone, I stood in the doorway and took inventory. A mattress, 3 boxes, a table, a notebook of plans. Behind them, a spine that bent and then unbent. On the counter, my keys shimmered like new letters. Evening brought the small courage of lamps and sheets. I lay down and listened to the hallway. Footsteps, laughter, a door, then quiet, then a bus. I thought of the kitchen I left unwashed behind me. I thought of the note and the silver key. My phone buzzed again. Tom's text appeared, unexpected. "You did the right thing. I'm here if needed." In the space it left, another voice answered back. "You have worth that doesn't need witnesses or signatures. You can build a life without asking permission anymore." I closed my eyes and slept like beginning again. Knocking rattled the thin hallway outside my small studio. 8:12 a.m. My phone brightened the dim, unfamiliar room. Through the peephole, I saw my father, bathrobe, unshaven, angry. I opened the door one careful width of breath, then waited. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "Lisa's roommate told me," he said. "Why cut the internet? Why does the phone company want new payment information now?" "Lower your voice, please. This isn't your house anymore, Dad." These were my accounts. I paid for them every month. "I removed my card and transferred your line last night. I moved it after 3 missed payments on your end." "The internet is down," he said, shocked, still blinking hard. "The TV rejects passwords. The plan lists a new owner." "Correct. Services follow the person who pays for them. Your service continues properly in your name from now." "Can we talk inside?" he asked, pride resisting any softening. "Here is fine," I said. "We'll talk right here." He looked past me at the mattress and the boxes. "You slept here on that?" he asked, pointing, incredulous. "Yes, and I slept better than I did yesterday." "This place is tiny," he said, judgment arriving by habit. "It's what I can afford, and it is mine." I didn't mean immediately. I meant after November's bills. Settle those, then leave. That's what I intended. "I settled mine last night. You'll handle December and beyond." He rubbed his temples, wind leaving an overfull, tired sail. "You paid electricity too?" he asked, uncertainty finally showing. "For months. Electric, internet, streaming, cell plan, plus groceries. Why didn't you say something? He asked, smaller than before. I did. You weren't listening to me for months. He stared at the floor, counting the scuffed squares slowly. At dinner, I went too far, he said, subdued. Show me what you paid, he added, almost whispering. I opened my phone, the separation folder already waiting. Invoices lined like calm witnesses, confirmations matching the dates. He looked longer than pride usually lets a stubborn man. I didn't realize, he said, tasting inconvenient, unfamiliar honesty. You weren't meant to realize, you were meant to notice. There's a difference between being carried and being cared for. This is ridiculous, he tried, testing old authority by reflex. No, this is adulthood, divided by responsibilities and respect. I won't be unpaid caretaker, invisible bookkeeper, or scapegoat anymore. No more public shaming, no more names that bruise me. If we speak, it's with boundaries and mutual respect only. He swallowed and nodded once, eyes drifting toward the door. My phone buzzed loud in the quiet hallway suddenly. Sarah wrote, "Are you safe?" across the notification bar. I typed back, "I'm safe, talking, not moving back, later." Another banner slid across, the agency's name in bold. "Client approved your deck. Monday call, paid discovery first." He watched my face change, lifting one careful eyebrow. "Work?" he asked, wary and hopeful in equal measure. "Work," I said, feeling the room widen around me. They accepted my proposal. Milestones follow discovery next. He nodded, practical mind counting steps and obligations. "I'm not asking permission," I said, voice gentle, precise. "I'm telling you my life moves forward from here." He looked at the mattress, then finally met my eyes. "You can't live like this forever," he said reflexively. "Watch me learn," I said, a small smile steadying. "Sarah says I should apologize," he said, almost whispering. "I'm not good at it. Words still come wrong." "I don't need perfect. I need different behavior now. Call before you come. Neutral places. Respect, always," I said. "I can do that," he said. "I can try." Silence followed. Not heavy, just clean with room inside. "I'll set up my accounts," he said, finally resigned. "Good," I said. "You'll manage. You've paid bills forever." "Do you need anything for this place?" he asked. "A lamp, maybe a chair," I said, scanning corners. "I have a spare lamp in the garage," he offered. "Text first," I said. "If I say yes, then yes." "Text first," he repeated, filing the rule like ledger lines. At the door he paused, hand on the chipped frame. "You've done more than I admitted," he said quietly. "I see some of it now," he added, honest enough. "Keep looking," I said. "See my side of things." He nodded and stepped back into the weekday hallway. I set my phone down, screen bright on the counter. Winter light pooled across the boards like a promise. I wrote 3 sentences on a sticky note, then dated it. "I am not a leech. I am Frankie, still standing. I will build a life I am proud to live." I pressed it beside the outlet and opened January's folder. Deadlines, deliverables, invoices, then a clean kickoff checklist ready. Not victory exactly, more like a house settling after weather. Still, I stood upright and the day opened wider. January arrived without apologies, just small steps and receipts. Morning light reached my drafting table and warmed my hands. I answered emails, sent invoices, and met quiet deadlines. Each paid invoice felt like a vote of confidence. Across the hall, Angela brewed tea and asked real questions. "Consider a Murphy bed," she said. "Save your floor." Sarah checked on me without pushing me back home. She brought soup, gentle gossip, and sister energy that steadied. Tom carried a lamp upstairs and fixed a hinge. Dad and I met for coffee at the bright diner. He sat very straight and counted sugars by habit. Dad's questions were stiff, practical, and strangely merciful now. "Timelines? Paid discovery first?" he asked, measuring steps, not scorn. I described the project. He listened without correcting or sighing. It wasn't an apology, but it wasn't contempt either. I began therapy in February, 2 blocks from home. The office smelled like peppermint and a winter candle. The therapist named it clearly: emotional neglect, not oversensitivity. Naming the wound let me stop bleeding for approval. She drew a map: grief, rigidity, and my people-pleasing roots. Boundaries weren't betrayal. Distance sometimes meant protection and care. I couldn't change him. I could change my responses. The agency project sprouted roots and then useful branches. Client emails used phrases like on strategy and clean execution. The retainer landed, practical as groceries on the counter. I slept without rehearsing explanations or counting footsteps overhead. Friday movie nights filled the stairwell with secondhand laughter. Neighbors waved in hallways like reliable small lighthouses at dusk. By spring, the studio felt less temporary and more earned. A real bed, a sturdier lamp, a second-hand working chair. In July, I toured a condo inside a converted warehouse. High windows, brick walls, a kitchen needing stubborn, patient love. I ran the numbers twice, then breathed and ran them again. Signing felt less like fireworks, more like a promise kept. Lisa brought champagne. Angela brought a propagated snake plant. Sarah and Tom arrived smiling, carrying a generous gift card. We ate standing up, planning sanding and stubborn cabinet doors. Dad came last, holding a metal toolbox carefully. We walked the rooms. He listened without correcting my ideas. At the windows, he paused, city light pooling like river. "You've done well, Frankie. This is a good investment. Not effusion, not apology, but recognition that finally held." "Text first," he said, catching my glance and our rule. "Text first," I answered. "Boundaries keep tenderness from collapsing." He exhaled like a man relieved to share the load. He nodded, approving the economy like a balanced ledger. The word Leech became a door I finally passed. Clients paid on time and my confidence learned to stand. I learned boundaries are bridges, not walls, when crossed kindly. Dad and I are learning slowly, steadier than before. We will never be perfect. We can still be good. Our path is narrow, real, and wide enough to pass. Before sleeping, I wrote, "Dignity first, generosity second, clear lines." Have you ever walked away to protect your dignity? Share your story in the comments. Others need your courage. Tap like and subscribe for more true family resilience stories. Tell me where you're watching from and stay for tomorrow's chapter.